Risa. Risa. Risa la arba risa dan kharak yaje. Mali. Risa la. Risa mukir taula la. Ini takaja sari kamu gora kaja jidu. Shish, akarat. Wan keta. Wan gora san keta inarka.
A few friends had been kind enough to share some perspectives about their last tour, and the main concern was obviously security.
9 people have been killed and houses torched in the latest tribal fighting in Saku, Marsabit County.
I had been advised by some experts, in brackets, to get armed backup or join a convoy of secured vehicles. This was most inaccurate. On the trip, there was absolutely no need for any such worries. We birded at will and made some 38 or so stops. In our quest or our desire to look at the different species of birds in Kenya, we've been traveling through different bits of Kenya, and we've done an excellent trip on the western side of Lake Turkana. And then we promised that, we'd try and get some time in May to look at the eastern side of the lake. Northern Kenya is quite an exciting place. Once in a while there are insecurity issues, but we got friends who told us now that most of those stories are not true about insecurity and all. Well, there's sporadic occurrences, but not really a big deal. We left the bustling streets of Nairobi quite early in the morning. Yeah, so we've woken up early. We're going up north. It's a 9-day trip. Hopefully we get a lot of nice specials. Just caught up a team of around 6 with a guide. And we're going up to Moyale through Marsabit today. There's a lot of birds on the way that are worth enjoying and looking at that we didn't have, like musk larks, and always think the tekla larks and the different larks in the lava fields is always quite nice. Passing Nanyuki for a quick breakfast and then continuing up. It's quite a beautiful place, and there's a blend of Kenyan and Ethiopian cultures which makes that side of the world quite interesting. As you journey from Nairobi to Moyale, you leave the lush highlands of Nairobi. Then you get into the beautiful Laikipia Plateau. Beautiful rocks, beautiful landscapes, some of the best sceneries that you'll see in Kenya on that upper side of Kenya. So the mountains, plains, and valleys. Moyale is inhabited by various Cushitic people. The Borana or Oromo, the more dominant ones, but you'll pass the Rendile, who are quite colorful, dressed in beads, in blue, and really beautiful traditional attire as you go up. The town Moyale, there's actually a Moyale on the Kenyan side, and there's a Moyale on the Ethiopian side. And during the day, you can actually cross in between. The main language spoken would be Somali, Rendile, Gabra, Burji, who largely speak Oromo, Somali, Swahili, and English. There's a lot of Christian and Islamic presence. And there's obviously quite a lot of bustling, interesting trade around the different places. So day one, get to Marsabit, eat lunch, proceed to the national park, camp at Abdul Gate or Ahmed Gate, bad leisurely, and then really look around. Some really special birds include teklalaks, Somali ostriches, chestnut-headed sparrowlarks, black-billed woodhoopers, white-crowned starlings, steel blue widers, which are all really nice birds, and Nubian woodpeckers, just as you're about to tuck into bed later in the night. Birds in local language are called simpirre, and it's really hard to communicate in English or Swahili with the locals. So if you don't speak the local language, it's hilarious. Then other cliffs could yield hornbills, widers, buntings, Somali buntings, northern cromebecks, brown-tailed rockcharts, white-crested helmet shrikes, loads of vultures, Egyptian, white-backed, rupels, hooded, are all possibilities. Marshall eagles, hawk eagles are very many, and that seems to be the normal trip up. If you get into the Dida Galgalu Desert, you'll get Hughlins bastards, and at night you may actually just be able to bump into star-spotted nightjar. We didn't get star-spotted nightjar on our first trip, but we got it on the second trip. It had been several months before the last rains, and the whole community had lost loads of livestock. And then just before we drove up, there was a significant amount of rainfalls that turned Marsabit into one of the most beautiful places you'd be in Kenya. And obviously there's goat herders, camel herders, who are all quite relieved that they were not going to lose more stock. And it became a frenzy of flowers, yellow, green, red. I mean, I didn't believe Marsabit would look anything close to what it looked like. Decided to have lunch. We got a local guide called Guyo who really knows Marsabit well. So I'm in Marsabit Sand and Rock Resort, and I'm with Guyo. Guyo is the champion here. Yeah, he knows this region, so he's taking us around for the next week. Yeah, and that behind us is Boran cisticola, which is calling, quite a rare bird in Kenya. And then just as we get into Ololokwe, we realized our car was not a full four-wheel drive car. So we attempted to get into a place called Sabache, and that was not possible. So we asked for another car, but in that whole process, after eating lunch, we were not even able to drive 10 kilometers before we realized the car had significant issues, and it could only be driven in reverse. So we reversed all the way back, and 10 kilometers on reverse is not as short as it sounds. Very good photos of northern white-faced owls. We had African scops owl, which was quite nice. The next day, the next car arrived very early, and we were all quite happy. But in the morning, obviously, as we were leaving camp, red and yellow barbets, Dano's barbets, Boran cisticolas, Somali sparrows, some really good good birds. After lunch, we went into the lava flats and got tekla larks, crested larks, musk larks, which is really nice. And overhead, we had Eurasian hobby, sooty falcon. Sooty falcon was really special because you don't get to see that frequently. And many flocks of chestnut-bellied sandgrouse. Day 3, we exactly got Swainson sparrows when we woke up from the hotel in Moyale. They're just right within the hotel. Black-billed woodhoopers, drongos, and what we think could be glossy-backed drongo. We'll confirm that at some point. In the evening, on the third day, was a special bird that we'd all gone looking for, which was the chestnut-naped. The black-fronted francolin in Moyale is one of the more rare francolins in Kenya and in Ethiopia. It's probably one of the most endangered francolins in Africa. In 1975, a birder recorded that he had seen one francolin just off Moyale, but there have been several visits between 1988 and 2022. It's been fairly hard to confirm the presence of the francolin in Kenya. The black-fronted francolin is considered a full species by some authorities and a subspecies of the chestnut-naped francolin by others. It's smaller, it has chestnut coloration in plumage, bald markings on the flanks, and was first described in 1929. So, between 1st and 2nd of 2023, we detected no fewer than 8 black-fronted francolins west of Moyale, somewhere between 920 and 1,200 meter in elevation. We attempted to go to 2 different places. We chose this based on the elevation above sea level, a corner of Moyale called Kulta and another corner called Kiltipe. These are the highest elevation areas just bordering the Kenya-Ethiopia boundary. It had been raining the morning before, and we'd attempted to get to the east of Moyale, but the roads were terrible. It was flooded and there was so much water, and there was a huge risk of us, literally doing nothing in the road. So when we chose to go westwards, fortunately the roads were good. As we were birding, we started hearing some calls. We almost intuitively knew it was the long-lost francolin. That was quite good. So they were all calling across a deep, well-vegetated ravine with thick bush, numerous grasses, and the understory was scattered with rocks and all manner of bush. So we attempted playback. It wasn't that successful, but they kept on calling and we kept on going lower and lower in the valley. And after around 10 minutes, Mustafa, who was traveling with us, was able to sight one, which was perched on a rock, which was quite nice. But to see a bird that was last seen in 1975, that's when I was born. I'm now approaching 50. That's quite something. And then literally as some of us were scampering to go down and view these francolins, Angela, who was by my side, was like, "Hey, Victor, listen." And there was a batis as well that we've been looking for quite a while. I think the batis was last collected as a field sample in 1910. That makes for some really special birds collected. So we didn't see the batis, but we managed to record the call. So at some point, I may have to go up north to Moyale again and to try and get an actual photo. On day 4, we decided to spend a bit more time around Moyale and surroundings. So we found a place called Kiltipe, and there are loads of black-billed woolhoopers, open-billed storks, knob-billed duck, a few honey buzzards flying over, red-backed shrike, lesser grey shrikes, willow warblers, common cuckoos. Really nice day out. A really special bird is a brown-faced go-away bird, which is quite an odd bird to find in that part of Kenya. Adrian, Angela, Pete went a little higher up the border, and they were rewarded with Ethiopian bee eaters, which was quite nice. On the 5th day, we wanted better photos of white-crowned starlings, singing Somali cromebacks, African cuckoos, which is always nice. So the accommodation in Kalacha is really non-existent except for the Catholic Church that offers beds. And because of the heat, you kind of just sleep outside, which was really nice. I mean, it was really special. Again, my accommodation is outside, too hot inside the rooms. So I just put my mattress inside and slept. Disadvantage, mosquitoes at Catholic Church in North. Day 6, Huri Hills. We really tried to look for Archer's francolins, but we were not successful. And then we continued with the loop through North Hor, Loyangalani, Kolal, looking for some interesting birds. But I think by the end of it all, the francolins were at the parties. Just some really good birds that we managed to see out.